Okay. For the sweater, we're going to use cadmium red light mixed with Naples yellow and burnt sienna. So we get this beautiful kind of orangey, earthy orange, really like subdued orange.
Yeah,
and for the darkest darks, where the shadow is, where the sleeve is, right here, right there,
yeah.
we're going to use, just add to that combination, ultramarine violet.
Okay.
Ultramarine violet will give us this dark. Now, it's not as dark as what you see, but it's fine. It doesn't have to be that dark. Now, so we're going to put that just where we see shadows. Now, for her shoulder, you can put a bit, not too thick. This is a thick sweater because you can see from the folds that it's a thick sweater.
This is a winter
Yeah,
sweater.
yeah. Let's put some here where the apron is. So the apron is casting a shadow on the sweater. Okay. That's good because we're going to use a bit of burnt sienna for her skin tone, for her face, whatever is showing. All right. Okay. All right. These roses are beautiful.
Hmm?
Roses, those.
Yes, the bouquet there. Yeah.
Beautiful. We can
Very
actually, yeah, we can actually use some of that burnt sienna with a bit of white for the face.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of skin tone showing. So we can do
white and burnt sienna.
burnt sienna and white, yeah. Very simple.
It comes very nice.
Okay, so now we're going to work on the highlighting the sweater. So let's mix Naples yellow, cadmium red light, and we're going to put burnt sienna in there. We're going to take this is not the highlight. So this is more like a medium tone. We're going to take it. Oh, sorry, I just forgot. I forgot to do one thing here before. There's a strong shadow in here. I've completely missed it. Okay, now medium tone. Let's see. Yeah, I think medium tone will work. So let's take it here because we're going to be highlighting these colors eventually. I think we can put a bit more. I can see here that we can put a bit more burnt sienna. The color is turning and a bit more white in there. It's just to make it more brown.
Oh, you wanted more brown?
Well, I think so. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, really.
No. Yeah.
That's good right now. It's good. We're getting there. You know, I don't like to highlight right away. I always like to have a medium tone, then highlight after. Because I find highlighting right away is makes the color or the whatever you're painting looks. It's too strong. It's too jumpy from one value to another. I like to start with medium and then I highlight slowly. I'm not pressing too hard on my brush. Softening a bit some of these harsh dark colors. This is a problem with acrylics. It dries harsh. So we always have to go back, adjust, wait for it to dry, go back, adjust highlights and darks, your value, which we will be doing eventually. Okay, now move on to this part. The highlighted part is easy. And see, even this color is drying dark now.
Yeah.
Okay. Now what I'm doing is I put a bit of water on my brush, not much, just a bit. And I'm taking ultramarine violet,
Yes.
adding my ultramarine violet to the color I have, which will soften my my dark shadows. And now I'm going to take more ultramarine violet with the color, same base color, which is cadmium red with Naples yellow and burnt sienna and ultramarine violet. And then I'm going to go back and, oh, this is not working. Hold on. Let's take raw umber and see, maybe raw umber will work better than ultramarine violet, because ultramarine violet now is over a light background, so it's not really enough to give me a strong shadow. Oh, that's raw umber is good. Raw umber is an amazing color to mix. It doesn't take over. It just changes. It gives you the right
Dark.
Yeah, and even when you highlight it, it's really lovely. Okay. I like this raw umber. It's working very well, actually. I'm going to add white to the combination. So I'm taking Naples yellow, cadmium red light. I'm putting raw umber in it, and instead of burnt sienna now, and I'm taking white. I'm putting white in there. Now, the reason I changed from burnt sienna is just once you start adding white to burnt sienna, it turns into pink.
Yes.
So that's why I'm trying to avoid pink in the sweater. Add white while the medium tone I'm putting is wet. So I got a really nice strong light because I can see it here. Right here, I can see a strong light in there. So I have dark, medium, light, and then it goes to a soft shade right here. So there's like a movement here, as a half a, not a circle, like a, it's like a, yeah, like a bit of a circle in here, part of a circle in there. It's not straight line, it's curved. It's a curve. That's what I'm looking for, curve. Right, okay, so same here. I'm gonna wet again. I'm gonna take, so when I dip my brush in water, in a case like this, I dip the tip, not the whole brush, the tip, just to wet it. I'm gonna come here, put this color, And you see now, from what you're seeing, there's a really sharp line in there, which I have to eventually soften this line. But before I do this, now I wet the paint in there. Then I'm going to take white with the tip of my brush, and I'm just going to put it in here over the wet part. So this, see how beautiful this is? Soft in there. It blends really nice. Very nice blending. Now I have to deal with this part. I have to deal with this line, harsh, sharp line. I'm going to clean my brush. Again, cadmium red light, Naples yellow, raw umber. Wipe my brush. I'm going to come here, wet this area again, because that's what happens with acrylics. Once it's dry, you get this harsh line. So you have to wet the paint again. Take white, come here. Okay, white, just white. And then come here and then add this white here because the paint is still wet. It will dry darker. I'm not worried about this. As long as the paint is wet, it's easy to blend. We can now highlight. Actually, this medium tone goes down here. Again, I have to wait for it to dry and adjust. That's what I do all the time. I wait for it to dry and I adjust. Now, I'm going to do the same. Pick up some highlighted light color. And then now I'm going to take white. I'm wetting this. I'm going to take white. I'm just going to put it over. Slowly, we're getting a really nice detail. I'm wetting this again. And I'm going to take raw umber, only raw umber. And I'm going to put it here. Try to blend, soft blending, so we don't get harsh lines. Anytime you want to get rid of harsh lines, wet your paint. This is why it's easy to do these things with oil, because oil stays wet. So when you come to blend and put a nice kind of soft edge, it's easy. I'm going to wait for it to dry a bit. Meanwhile, I'll continue with my highlights down because I know that from what I'm seeing, my values are too close. They need to be, there should be a higher, different, eventually it should be a dark in here somewhere inside. So I'll wait for it to dry. Meanwhile, I'll work on the rest of the highlights of the sweater. I'm just following, I'm just watching what, following what I'm seeing, kind of. Now, white, so medium tone. Now I'm going to highlight, taking white, and I'm going to put it here. I like working on folds, although they're not easy, but it's interesting when you start working with lights and darks and different values. Interesting to see how you learn a lot, really, from highlighting and darkening and highlighting again. And sometimes, you know, you look at the folds, like now I'm looking at some of these folds, and I don't like all of them. And, you know, I don't have to exactly copy what I'm seeing. If there's something I don't like, I can change it a bit. I keep having to adjust those highlights in here. Highlights are tricky, but they're awesome. They make a big difference to the sweater she's wearing. All right. Let's leave it alone for now, this part, and highlight the rest because it needs to dry. Again, cadmium red light, Naples yellow. I'm putting raw umber and white now. And let's highlight this part. More white in here. This will take a bit of more white. This is the shoulder. You know where the shoulder is higher, and the more you go down, the darker it is. So this is the highest part, and this is where it will catch the most light. And then the more you go down, the darker it's going to look. You don't see it, but it's very subtle. If we change this into black and white, you'll see the difference. You'll see the difference in value. Same down here. We have mostly dark, but over here I can see there's a bit of highlights in there. Not dark, dark. It's more like a medium tone. All right, I'm going to take more white. I'm going to take a bit of that color, the one I'm using right now, and but a lot more white in there. I'm just going to put this little detail at the bottom. It's unbelievable how no matter how much white I put in here, it gets absorbed by the color underneath. Okay. Picking up a bit more white touch. I don't want it to be too much in here. Okay, so now we have a soft fold in here, which is great. That's what we want. Now, let's take raw umber and put in it a bit of ultramarine violet. We really don't have to do this, but it'll be nice to get a bit of more shadows in here, just a bit, especially at the bottom part. You know, as an artist, when you're looking at a reference and you see a reference like this, you start looking at the little details in there and what will make it look interesting. The dark shadows, the highlights. Okay. I really don't want a lot of darks in there. Because it looks great in a picture, but sometimes when you're painting it, you really need to watch. Whatever looks nice in a picture doesn't mean when you're painting it, it looks good. Most of the time, artists change, yeah, artists change the detail. Just to make it look, they make it better. They should. And that's what you want to think about too when you're painting. And if you see something, an interesting reference, but something in that reference doesn't look good, don't copy it, change it. Or if you look at a reference and you don't understand what that detail is, or what this shadow is, change it. All of these details that we're putting right now will change once we start putting the flowers and the rest of the detail, rest of the elements in there. Let's put some harsher, stronger shadow in here. Same over here, because this apron is going to cast a shadow over the sweater. I don't know about you, but my paint is drying fast.
And mine too.
I'm going to leave it for now, just the way it is for now. Maybe add a bit of darken a bit some areas here, but I'm really not liking this strong dark in the reference. I'd rather soften it here. So I added a strong dark in that little corner only, and then I left the rest the way it is, not as dark. This is where the pleat or the crease, is that called crease? Right, yeah. Meet, and that's the darkest part. Okay. For the apron, we're going to use cadmium red light, Naples yellow, and for the darks, we'll use ultramarine violet. We'll add ultramarine violet. So for the apron, let's start with the, again, like we did with the sweater. Start with the darks. So I'm just going to take, I mixed red and Naples yellow, and of course red is stronger than Naples yellow, so you'll need more Naples yellow than red. And I'm just going to take ultramarine violet and put it in this. So I can start, because I can see the dark of on the apron is not that strong of a, not very dark. I think I need more ultramarine. And you notice that I'm starting with darks. Usually I don't do that. I usually put the dark everywhere and then I highlight. But you know what, in this in this painting that we're working on, I don't think we need to do that. I'll just put the dark where it is, where I see it. And then I'll come back and again, blend and mix like I did with the sweater.
Is it the light or dark?
Dark.
Oh, dark. Oh, okay.
Yes.
And I'm wondering why it's so light. Okay.
Now I'm going to pick up red, Naples yellow. And this right now has a bit of ultramarine violet, just because my brush, I was using the brush and it had ultramarine violet, so I kept it there. The reason I did is just because cadmium red light and Naples yellow are very strong, and I would rather have a muted color than having that strong of a color, especially for the first layer. After, when it's dry, I can go back again and highlight or darken or do whatever I want at that point. But I like to keep room for highlights. I don't like to start with strong highlights. I can always go back and adjust my colors, my values, everything. I can adjust that after. Everything starts messy, and then you start tightening and cleaning and putting more detail, more highlights, more. But at first, it looks a bit messy. Now, this part is wet, so I'm going to take advantage of that. And I'm going to go back to my ultramarine violet, mix it in, and then come back here because it's wet. It's going to give me a softer edge because I'm working wet on wet. Okay, good. This is a beautiful color. color looks a bit flat and on the screen. I'm sorry, I have to turn this around for 1 minute. I'm just gonna have to. Now it is flat, so I'm gonna wait for it. I'm gonna highlight it more, but before I do this, I'm just putting color of the apron everywhere, and then I'll go back and adjust and fix what needs to be fixed. I think I'm gonna need to go back to the sweater eventually and adjust some. See, I can see here. Okay. Now, there's a subtle kind of highlight, a shift in the value right here. So it is lighter right there, medium right here, dark, and then medium. So I'm gonna start highlighting this. So I'm gonna start doing or using colors I see. Actually, instead of white on this one, I'm gonna use titanium buff. Just because titanium buff is softer for highlight. Let's see how it goes. Instead of white, I'm gonna use titanium buff. I don't want this to look, the only reason I'm saying this because I don't want this to look too white. I want to keep this beautiful red or orangey, earthy color, but highlighted. And if I do use white, it's going to turn white. Like it's going to turn really salmon color. I don't want that. So I'm going to try to use titanium buff to highlight. And I hope it works. I think it will be better than white. Let's see. Oh. Wipe my brush. Yeah, wow. Okay. I'm going to shift again to medium tone. Everything's wet right now, so it's perfect because I can blend those edges. They don't have to be sharp, and I can have a soft blending in here. between light, the blending is between light and dark. Now I'm tightening those kind of details a bit. I'm working on those, the details of the shadows and lights in here. Right, okay, a bit of more white, right, red, just a bit of red in between, because that's makes it pop a bit in here and makes it more interesting. Just in here. Nice, okay, good. Right, go back. Let's highlight. Titanium buff. And let's highlight this top part here. I know there's like a funny detail in there. I'm going to ignore it. Okay, let's highlight this. I'm trying not to bring my highlight all the way down. Start highlighting from here, leave some dark in there. Let's try to do this. Let's try to see if we can do that, just to give it a bit of, give the fabric a bit of movement. So it's not, I've already changed the detail on this. See how it's bumpy here in the picture, right there? I removed all of that. I made it straight. Just too much
information.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm using now the main color with titanium buff. And I'm really being careful where I'm putting my highlights. Because I want to use this for the movement of the shadows and lights on that fabric. So the fabric is not straight, right? It has bumps. And to show this, all I'm doing is I'm trying to use the highlights in the right place. No, it doesn't mean that I want to put all of these details. I'm just going to put some of it, some of these details. Again, just wait for it to dry and then let's I do it again. I keep on highlighting where it needs to be highlighted when it's dry. I can see that even this dark, it needs to be softened a bit, and just a bit too dark. And that's acrylics. You just need to wait for it to dry and then adjust the values. When you have on fabric, when you have a harsh value, you're not going to see the pleats. You're not going to see the fabric. You're not going to see the darks and lights. All you're going to see is harsh, strong patches of paint. So, and that's a problem with acrylics, because it is harsh. It's not a buttery paint like oil. But we're in control. We can do whatever we want. All right. It's good. There's a nice dark part in here in that fabric. Let's see if I can do that. Very small. No, small. Kind of a here. I'll show you. Right here. It's like this part of the fabric goes in. Oh, there's a pleat in there. Like the fabric is overlapping.
Yeah.
A bit here. Because it's not straight. You know, if you look at the apron, it's not straight everywhere. It folds in certain areas.
Oh, yes. And this, oh, okay. Now I understand what you're saying.
I'm just cleaning up a bit. Okay. I will adjust this a bit more. I think needs to be, it's too pointy. I'll do that when I'm working on the jeans. When I start working on the jeans, I'll adjust it. It has to be done negative painting.
Okay.